Two grown men, who once called themselves Olandria's friends, have systematically turned their success into their personal content goldmine, and the level of calculated manipulation here is absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking about Ace and Taylor from Love Island USA Season 7, former villa mates who've made post-show careers out of throwing shade at Nic Olandria every single time the couple reaches a new milestone. This isn't your typical Love Island drama or harmless shade between castmates. This is psychological warfare disguised as friendship, and when Ace sat down with Speedy Mormon to question whether Nic and Olandria's relationship is even real, claiming Nic privately confessed there's no romantic spark, that wasn't honesty speaking. That was pure strategy in motion, designed to inflict maximum damage. The timing, the platform choice, the calculated cruelty of it all screams desperate men trying to tear down what they couldn't control. But stick around, because the receipts I'm about to present will completely expose the depths of their coordinated campaign against the woman who outshined them both. Before we dive into this psychological breakdown, smash that subscribe button faster than Ace and Taylor's friendship with Olandria disappeared after the camera stopped rolling. My notification bell is feeling lonelier than Taylor's dating prospects after everyone realized he was everyone's second choice. So help a creator out here and hit that bell too.
Let's rewind to where this vendetta actually began, because this calculated attack didn't start with some random podcast interview. This bitter campaign traces back to a specific moment in the Love Island villa that clearly shattered some very fragile egos beyond repair. Remember when Ace and Taylor first attempted to publicly humiliate Olandria? They thought they had orchestrated the perfect setup to send their so-called friend packing from paradise. It was supposed to be their grand power move, their moment of ultimate control over the villa dynamics, where they could prove they were the puppet masters pulling all the strings. Ace was dropping not-so-subtle hints about wanting certain people to stay while simultaneously working behind the scenes to isolate Olandria. Taylor was pulling his whole switching sides routine with surgical precision, playing both ends against the middle like he was running some master class in manipulation. Everything was perfectly choreographed to make Olandria look foolish in front of millions of Love Island USA viewers. They probably spent hours rehearsing their little performance, completely convinced they were about to execute the most flawless blindside in reality TV history since Sierra got eliminated.
The plan seems simple enough in their minds. Isolate her emotionally, embarrass her publicly, watch her confidence crumble, and then sit back as she walked out of paradise defeated and humiliated. They wanted to prove that they controlled the narrative, that they decided who deserved to stay and who needed to go. But then something completely unexpected happened that derailed their entire master plan and exposed them as the fraudulent puppet masters they really were. Nic stepped up with genuine protection, shut down their manipulative game completely, and their carefully crafted humiliation ritual crumbled faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. Instead of Olandria walking out embarrassed and utterly defeated like they had planned, she emerged stronger, more respected, and suddenly everyone was talking about how Nic had protected her with such authentic care and genuine concern. That single moment of real friendship broke something fundamental inside both Ace and Taylor's psyche that they've never recovered from. They didn't just lose a strategic battle in the villa that day. They lost complete control of the narrative they thought they were writing about themselves and everyone around them. They went from being self-proclaimed puppet masters, pulling all the strings, to becoming irrelevant side characters in someone else's beautiful love story. The psychological bruising from that moment of powerlessness has clearly eaten away at them ever since, and their egos have never recovered from watching someone they underestimated not just survive their calculated attack, but actually thrive beyond their wildest expectations. Here's what's really eating them alive like acid from the inside, and why they can't seem to move on from this obsession with tearing down Olandria's success. Look at where everyone stands right now in their post-villa lives, and the contrast is absolutely stark. Olandria has secured magazine covers, lucrative brand deals, and built a devoted fan base that would literally go to war for her without hesitation.
She's transcended Love Island USA itself, becoming bigger than the show, bigger than their petty villa politics, and bigger than anything they could have imagined when they were plotting her downfall in paradise.
Meanwhile, the only time Ace manages to trend on social media is when he's starting unnecessary drama about his former castmates or throwing unprovoked shade at relationships that have nothing to do with him. Taylor's most memorable moment since leaving Paradise is admitting that producers basically made him waste everyone's time and emotional investment, which isn't exactly the kind of post-show storyline that screams success or authenticity. That's not power or influence they're demonstrating with these calculated attacks. That's purely parasitic behavior at its most transparent and pathetic. They're literally feeding off her success like vampires because they cannot generate their own relevance without her name being attached to their messy content. Every podcast appearance, every social media post, every attempt to stay relevant somehow circles back to Nic Olandria. And that pattern reveals everything you need to know about their true motivations.
Think about the twisted psychology operating here that drives this obsessive behavior. These men watched the woman they had completely underestimated and tried to destroy, not to survive their coordinated attempt to break her down, but actually thrive beyond anything they've personally achieved since leaving the villa. Every single brand deal she signs, every magazine feature highlighting her success, every moment she shines brighter in the spotlight serves as a constant reminder of their spectacular failure to dim her light when they thought they had the power to control her destiny. So, what do they do with all that built-up resentment and wounded pride? They keep trying the exact same tired tactics that failed so miserably the first time around, apparently learning absolutely nothing from their initial defeat. This podcast situation with Ace questioning Nic Olandria's authenticity isn't him being genuinely honest about his friend's relationship dynamics. It's round 2 of the exact same manipulative game plan that backfired spectacularly when they first attempted it in the Love Island villa.
Let's examine Taylor's latest pathetic excuse, because this one really exposes the depths of their shared hypocrisy and selective memory. During his recent media appearances, he's been claiming that producers influenced his decision to pursue Olandria in the villa, suggesting it wasn't really his authentic choice and that he was somehow a victim of behind-the-scenes manipulation. But here's the million-dollar question that absolutely nobody seems to be asking directly, and it completely demolishes his convenient narrative. If that story is actually true, if producers really forced his hand in pursuing Olandria, why didn't he tell her the truth in real time when it actually mattered? We witnessed other islanders in that exact same villa environment say, "I'm not interested," without any hesitation whatsoever when they weren't feeling a connection. We saw contestants stand up to producer suggestions, refuse to go along with storylines they weren't comfortable with, and prioritize their authentic feelings over show dynamics.
But Taylor made a conscious choice to play along with what he now conveniently claims was producer manipulation. He let Olandria invest emotionally in their connection, let her believe something genuine was building between them, and allowed her to be vulnerable with someone who was apparently just following a script. That's not being passively influenced by behind-the-scenes production pressure. That's making an active, conscious decision to deceive someone for your own strategic benefit while she trusted you with her genuine feelings. Here's where the situation gets really rich with irony that exposes Ace's role in this deception. Ace was right there watching this entire charade unfold in real time, and he wasn't some innocent bystander observing from the sidelines. We have actual footage of Ace giving Taylor detailed advice on how to manipulate the coupling situation to his advantage, coaching him on specific tactics to secure his position over other potential matches.
Ace actively participated in helping Taylor navigate his connection with Olandria, providing strategic guidance on how to keep her interested, while Taylor was apparently planning his exit strategy the entire time. But now this same man wants to stand on his moral soapbox during podcast interviews, talking about integrity and authentic relationships like he's some beacon of truth and genuine friendship. He wants us to believe he's somehow a moral authority figure, while simultaneously admitting he was completely complicit in helping deceive Olandria for weeks. The math absolutely isn't adding up here, and their hypocrisy is showing more clearly than a neon sign in the desert night.
If Ace genuinely had legitimate concerns about Nic and Olandria's relationship developing after the villa, if this was really about friendship, loyalty, and honest communication like he claims, he's had countless opportunities for private conversations over the past months. Quick reminder to smash that subscribe button if you're enjoying this deep dive into reality TV psychology, because apparently someone needs to connect these obvious dots that everyone else seems to be missing. My subscriber count needs more support than Ace's claims about caring for Olandria as a genuine friend. They were together at various industry events, at the reunion special, at different social gatherings where cast members reconnected after the show wrapped. They've had literal months to clear the air through respectful, private man-to-man conversations if Ace's concerns were genuinely rooted in friendship and care for everyone involved. But instead of choosing private dialogue like mature adults who respect each other, he deliberately chose to air his grievances on a public podcast platform, knowing exactly how damaging and humiliating the inevitable fallout would be for everyone involved. That's not transparency or authentic concern for his friend's well-being. That's calculated theater designed for maximum impact and maximum damage to relationships he claims to value. All of this drama apparently stems from Nic giving what Ace characterized as a diplomatic, non-committal answer to a question about something Ace claims he doesn't even personally care about that much. But in the exact same breath, Ace confessed to being a willing accomplice in Taylor's systematic deception of Olandria, actively helping waste her time and emotional energy while knowing she deserves so much better treatment from both of them. Yet somehow in his twisted logic, Nic owes him unwavering loyalty and should have publicly defended him against any criticism or skepticism from fans who saw through his manipulative behavior. The sheer audacity is absolutely astronomical and reveals the true depths of his entitlement.
Here's the undeniable pattern that's impossible for anyone with functioning brain cells to ignore once you see it clearly. Both Ace and Taylor have essentially made post-Villa careers out of staying relevant by systematically attacking Olandria's continued success and questioning her authentic connections. Every single time she reaches a new milestone in her career, every time she secures a new opportunity or achievement that proves her value beyond their little Villa politics, suddenly they have something negative to contribute to the conversation. It's giving major, bitter ex-boyfriend energy, except they were never actually the main character in her story to begin with. They were supporting cast members who got written out of the plot when their manipulative behavior was exposed, and they simply cannot accept their reduced role in the narrative they thought they were controlling. When Taylor gets eliminated from the villa and his energy immediately shifts to resentment every single time Olandria gets positive recognition, those aren't coincidences or random timing. When Ace's most viral social media moments consistently come from throwing shade at the couple everyone's genuinely rooting for, that's not integrity or honest friendship speaking through him. That's pure jealousy wearing a poorly constructed mask of concern and fake friendship. The Love Island fandom sees through this transparent pattern with crystal clarity, and that's why the backlash against both of them has been so swift and decisive. Let me educate everyone on something called virtue signaling, because Ace just provided us with a masterclass demonstration of this manipulative psychological technique during his podcast appearance. Virtue signaling occurs when someone publicly expresses specific opinions or sentiments primarily to demonstrate their perceived moral superiority, using their claimed virtues as an effective smokescreen for far less honorable underlying behavior and motivations.
For the first portion of that podcast interview, Ace systematically fed his audience exactly everything they wanted to hear about success, integrity, and authentic relationships. He talked extensively about his personal integrity, his professional achievements, his important position as a young black man making significant moves in the entertainment industry. He painted himself as the righteous truth teller, the one person brave enough to expose fake relationships and shameless clout chasers who don't deserve their success. But then, in those final segments, his carefully constructed mask began slipping noticeably as his real emotions took over. Suddenly, he looked far less like a moral authority figure and much more like a grown man having an elaborate ego tantrum because someone took away his favorite toy and wouldn't let him control the narrative anymore.
The virtue signaling worked exactly as intended, though, because half his audience was so busy applauding his earlier points about success and authenticity that they completely missed how contradictory and genuinely petty his actual grievances turned out to be when examined closely. That's the genuinely dangerous thing about effective virtue signaling. It makes people feel good about supporting someone without encouraging them to critically examine whether their actions actually match their carefully chosen words and proclaimed values. Ace told everyone he was unquestionably the good guy, fighting for truth and authenticity. And he did it so convincingly that many people forgot to notice when he started acting exactly like the villain in someone else's success story. Here's what really exposes the fundamental difference between genuine friendship and performative loyalty designed for social media consumption and public image management.
While Ace and Taylor have made an actual sport out of publicly embarrassing and questioning Olandria's every move, analyzing her relationships and second-guessing her choices, Nic has consistently done the complete opposite. Nic hasn't humiliated her in front of millions of viewers for content. He hasn't turned their private conversations into public weapons designed to hurt her reputation or damage her career opportunities. He hasn't cynically used her name to generate buzz and engagement for his own content creation or social media presence. In today's world, where image and reputation can literally make or break career opportunities and financial success, that kind of consistent protection and genuine support is incredibly rare and valuable beyond measure.
When Ace stood up on that podcast platform to air his grievances, his strategic silence about defending his so-called friend spoke volumes about his true character and real priorities. When someone you genuinely care about is being systematically attacked and the reputation is under assault, your natural first instinct should always be protection and defense, not piling on with additional criticism and public humiliation. But Ace made the calculated choice to add fuel to a fire that was already threatening to consume someone he claimed to value as a friend and respect as a person. The contrast between their approaches is stark and absolutely telling about their real feelings regarding Olandria's success and happiness beyond their control.
The Love Island USA fandom isn't comprised of naive viewers who can be easily manipulated by fake concern and performative friendship. They see straight through manufactured drama and desperate attempts at maintaining relevance through controversy and calculated attacks. When fans immediately called out a Cease character after his podcast appearance, when they questioned his suspicious motives and convenient timing, that wasn't mindless mob mentality in action. That was collective recognition of psychological manipulation being broadcast in real time, and viewers refusing to be gaslit by someone trying to rewrite history for his own benefit. Fans understand intuitively that if you truly want to address legitimate issues with friends, you handle it privately first, out of respect for the relationships involved.
If you genuinely care about someone's well-being and reputation, you don't deliberately expose them to additional scrutiny and harmful speculation that could damage their career prospects. And if you're really committed to integrity as a core value like Ace claims to be, your actions consistently match your proclaimed words across all situations, not just when it's convenient, profitable, or makes you look good.
The response from Nic Olandria themselves was absolutely perfect in its maturity and united strength. Instead of engaging in a messy public back and forth that would only generate more drama and give their critics more ammunition, they responded with pure grace and dignity, letting their genuine relationship speak for itself without needing to defend or explain every aspect to people who were never really their friends anyway. That's the kind of emotional maturity and relationship security that simply cannot be faked or manufactured for public consumption. and it stands in sharp contrast to the chaos and negativity their former villamates continue creating purely for attention, engagement, and desperate attempts to remain relevant in conversations they should have moved on from months ago. Let's zoom out for a crucial moment and discuss the bigger picture here, because this situation represents something significantly larger and more important than just typical Love Island drama or social media beef between former castmates. Olandria is a Black woman who entered that villa knowing she would face additional layers of scrutiny, additional skepticism about her motives, and additional challenges that other contestants might never have to encounter or overcome in their reality TV journey.
She's successfully navigated online harassment, constant questioning of her authenticity, relentless speculation about every aspect of her personality and relationships, and criticism that often feels disproportionate compared to what other Islanders face for similar behavior. Instead of her former villa friends working to ease that unfair burden and provide support during difficult moments, they've deliberately chosen to add to it with their public attacks and calculated attempts to undermine her success. Instead of using their platforms and influence to uplift and protect someone facing unique challenges in the public eye, they've weaponized their voices to systematically tear her down and question her authenticity at every opportunity. That's not just personally disappointing behavior from people she trusted, it's culturally harmful on a much broader level that affects how Black women are perceived and treated in entertainment spaces.
When Black women are already fighting for basic respect and recognition in spaces that weren't originally designed to include them or celebrate their success, the absolute last thing they need is calculated sabotage from people who should naturally be allies and supporters. The fans who consistently defend Nic Olandria understand this dynamic perfectly and refuse to let it slide without consequences. They're not just supporting a cute couple or their favorite Islanders from the season. They're actively supporting the principle that Black women deserve loyalty, protection, and celebration of their achievements without constant questioning or attempts to diminish their success. They're rejecting the harmful narrative that suggests a Black woman's success is somehow automatically less legitimate or more suspicious than anyone else's accomplishments in the same space.
Before we wrap this up, make sure to subscribe if you believe in supporting creators who dig deeper than surface-level gossip and actually analyze the psychology behind the headlines. My notification bell needs more attention than Ace's desperate attempts to stay relevant through manufactured controversy. What we've witnessed over these past months since Love Island USA Season 7 ended isn't just about reality TV drama or typical social media beef between former cast members trying to extend their 15 minutes of fame. It's fundamentally about the real emotional cost of betrayal and what happens when people you trusted with your vulnerabilities decide that your success represents a direct threat to their fragile sense of self-worth.
Olandria has handled this entire situation with remarkable grace and maturity that honestly puts most adults to shame. But let's be completely honest about what she's been forced to endure emotionally throughout this ordeal. Imagine building what you thought were meaningful friendships with people in an intense, unique environment where you're all going through the same pressures and challenges together, only to watch them systematically turn your most personal relationships and private conversations into content for their own platforms and personal gain. The emotional toll of that kind of calculated betrayal is absolutely real and shouldn't be minimized or dismissed just because it's happening in the context of reality TV. When someone you considered family makes the deliberate choice to exploit your vulnerabilities for clicks, views, and temporary relevance, it fundamentally changes how you approach trust and future relationships. But here's what's genuinely beautiful about how this entire situation has ultimately played out, despite their best efforts to tear her down. Instead of breaking Olandria's spirit as intended, these coordinated attacks have only highlighted her incredible inner strength and resilience. Instead of isolating her from genuine support,
They've clearly shown exactly who deserves her loyalty and who was never truly worthy of it in the first place. Instead of diminishing her success, their obvious jealousy and desperate attempts to undermine her achievements have actually made her accomplishments seem even more impressive by contrast. At its core, this entire situation comes down to one simple question that everyone should ask themselves when evaluating friendships and loyalty. What does real friendship actually look like in practice when tested by success and changing circumstances? Is it supporting someone's achievements even when they surpass your own personal accomplishments? Is it protecting their reputation instead of exploiting their vulnerabilities for personal gain and social media content? Is it addressing conflicts privately and respectfully before airing them publicly for entertainment and engagement? The answer seems obvious to most people with functioning moral compasses, but apparently it needs to be stated clearly and directly for those still confused about basic friendship principles. Real friends don't weaponize private conversations for public content designed to damage reputations. Real friends don't time their supposed concerns for maximum embarrassment and public humiliation. Real friends don't build their own relevance on the foundation of someone else's pain and vulnerability while claiming to care about their well-being.
What Ace and Taylor have demonstrated throughout this entire ordeal isn't friendship at all, despite their claims about caring for Olandria as a person. It's transactional relationship behavior masquerading as loyalty. It's ego protection disguised as honesty and concern for authentic relationships. They revealed that their connection to Olandria was always conditional on her staying in what they considered her proper place in their self-created hierarchy of importance. When she exceeded those artificial limitations they had set for her, when she achieved success they couldn't control, claim credit for, or diminish through their manipulation, their true colors emerged completely and showed everyone exactly who they really are beneath the fake friendship facade.
The beautiful thing about this entire situation is that we, as viewers and supporters, have the power to reject manufactured drama and celebrate authentic connections instead. We have the power to hold people accountable for their actions and their treatment of others, not just their carefully crafted words and public personas designed to make them look good. We have the power to support people who demonstrate genuine friendship and protection instead of those who exploit vulnerabilities for content and engagement. If you believe in supporting creators and content that goes deeper than surface-level drama, that analyzes the psychology behind the headlines, and that stands up for people who deserve better treatment from those they trusted, then subscribe to this channel right now and help me build a community that values truth, empathy, and genuine accountability above cheap entertainment and manufactured controversy.
Because at the end of the day, we all deserve friends who stand beside us when the world wants to tear us down. Not friends who hand the world the weapons to do it more effectively while claiming they care about our well-being. Thank you for being here, for listening with critical thinking skills intact, and for caring enough to want the complete story behind the headlines instead of just accepting whatever narrative gets pushed the loudest. The tea has been thoroughly spilled, the receipts have been examined with proper context, and the truth has been told without filter or agenda. Now it's up to all of us to decide what we do with that information and how we choose to support authentic relationships over manufactured drama designed purely for engagement and relevance.